Anna, thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much for being willing to be our first person.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming to listen to me. Bill almost everything told about me, but I still have something to tell you what happened to me in the Holocaust and in the concentration camp.
We'll fill in some of the details, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start, Anna.
So I'm going to start it from there, where the Hungarian occupied Transylvania. You will know better. This is in Romania, a part of Romanian.
Anna, Anna, before you talk about being occupied, because you were just 13 when the war began
14.
September 1st, 1939. But before we turn to the war and the Holocaust, tell us a little bit about your family and their life before the war. What was your community and your family like?
Yes. My father was a very hard-working man. We had a vineyard, and he worked by himself because we were 6 girl sisters, not boys. So he had to be, I helped him sometimes. But he was a very hardworking and honest man. Everybody respected him in the little town, or I should say village, when we lived. We lived in peace. The older girls, they went to college and high school, because my parents found it very important for education. And the younger girls were in school, still in school. In 1940, I was 14 years old. I was ready to go to high school, and it was not so easy because I had to go to another city. In our town was not high school. So the first thing what the Hungarians did when they occupied Transylvania, that they stopped Jewish people to go to high school, to higher education. That was my first terrible thing what happened to me, because I need that for all my life. I missed that I did not have that one. You have the occasion here to educate yourself, and you should appreciate that, because that means a lot for you and for the whole country and for the whole world, the education. So now I'm going to tell you that what happened in 1940 when the Hungarians occupied Transylvania. For a few years, nothing happened. For, let's say, 2 years, they changed the schools from Romanian to Hungarians, and most of the people in the little town were Hungarians, and all poor people. And so we were in good relationship with all the people. They were not against Jewish people. I should say that they felt bad about what happened to Jewish people there. In that little village or town, should I say, it was altogether 50 Jewish families. And the first thing what they did, they took the young man and they sent them to hard labor. So in the town remained only the old people and the children, because the heart of the people, the men, they were taken for hard labor.
Anna, I think one of your sisters was married and her husband was taken, right?
Yes.
So she had to move home with the family?
Yeah, one of my sisters, the oldest, was married. Her husband was called for hard labor. She lived in another town, in a city, and she came home with a 3-year-old little girl, because she felt safe to live with the family. So after a while, they took my father away from the family. They said that he's a neighbor of ours said that he's a communist. That's why they take him. That was the reason. My father was not communist because he was in a good material condition. But otherwise, we were not communists. He didn't even know what communist is. So they took my father, and we lived there not easily with my mother and the 6 girls and the 1 granddaughter. In May, they announced us.
Anna, let me ask you a couple of questions. When your father was taken away for the labor brigade, did your mother know where he went, and did she hear from him at all?
My father sent 1 postcard from near Budapest, and he said he's all right, and he is working as a translator because he spoke German, Hungarian, Romanian, and Yiddish, so they used him. But since that postcard, we never find anything about him.
Never heard from him again after that?
Never heard from him again.
How did your mother, with 6 girls, how did the family make ends meet? Your father had his the family textile business, and the vineyard had been confiscated.
Yes,
How
it
did
has
you get by?
everything for. We had food for that time,
Okay.
and we survived it. My mother even could give to other people because she was a very giving person.
In fact, you said your mother was like Mother Teresa.
Yes. Well, I feel about my mother like my God, because she was such a person, and I'm going to miss her all my life. Or I can't forget what happens every day and every hour. I think of my people who I lost, innocent people. Because from a family of 9, we were there, the 6 girls, the 1 granddaughter. My mother, my father were 9 altogether, and this, right now, I am by myself. I don't have anything from my old family. So in May, the militia or the gendarme came to our house, and they said that we should have a 5-kilogram pack and stay at the street because they will come and pick us up, some people from the town.
And I'm going to jump in for just a minute. This is May 1944, right?
1944.
So you were
44, yes.
44. You were under the Hungarian occupation from 1940 to March of 1944. So you lived under those very difficult circumstances. You lost your father, but things got profoundly worse because now the Nazis have occupied Hungary in March of 1944. And that's what you're about to tell us.
Nazis, they did not come. The Hungarian occupied because the Hungarians were allied with the Germans. And that's why they gave it back from Romanian to Hungarian,
okay.
that part of Transylvania.
So now you're forced out of your home and forced into a ghetto. Tell us about that.
Yes. So they said that we should prepare. They did not say where they take us or why they take us, but we went in the carriages about 37 kilometers. First they took us in the Jewish synagogue. They were 205 persons. That's what remained beside the people, the hard worker men. So we stayed in that synagogue for about 3 days, and then they put us in the wagons and took us to the ghetto in Satu, which was 37 kilometers from our town. We were from other towns also, all the Jewish people was forced in that ghetto. We did not know anything what happens in the world because in our radio we just had 2 stations, Budapest and Bucharest. We never knew what happened in the rest of Europe, that people was deported before us. We never knew anything. We just knew what happens immediately with us. So from that ghetto, we were sleeping in houses on the floor, and put yourself in my shoes that you don't know anything and why we did have to go there and what is happening to us. Not long after that, we stayed in that ghetto. You gonna say something?
Well, I mean...
He helps me out if I forget something.
So
I am really forgetful. I don't know where are my keys or my glasses, but this story, I will never forget it. You know, so I have to put it in short, in 45 minutes, my story, because if I can say the whole story, we will stay here till tomorrow morning. But
So
you have 15 minutes for questions or so. So I have to really rush, and please don't bother me, okay?
So Anna, you were in the ghetto for a short period, and then you were sent to Auschwitz. Tell us what it was like for you to go to Auschwitz.
Well, it didn't happen so fast.
But we have a little bit of time, so tell us.
Let me the 45 minutes.
Okay, all right, Anna, go for it.
So from the ghetto, they took about 1,000 people from the ghetto. They took them to the train station. We didn't know the rest of the people who remained in that ghetto, what happens to them. And they didn't know where they're going or where they take them. But when it came the time that we had to go, our family or our building from there, then they put us in that train, and I was the 92nd person in that train. For what happened in that train for 4 days while we get to Auschwitz, we didn't know. That is something that no words for it to explain it how we were there. Because children started to cry. Old people pray. Other old people curse because this happened. We didn't find each other. My mother kept calling our names, the 6 daughters' name, that where are we, because we were not for each other. We couldn't reach the food that they said they should take it for 4 days. Water, we had very little, and in the one corner of the wagon, it was a big barrel when we had to do our things. When that was full, it started to come out, you know. So I can't tell you that time. I thought that that's the most terrible thing what happens to us. Then I thought. I didn't think that it comes even worse than that. So when the train stopped in Auschwitz, it was at night, it was neon light, and the dog started to bark. People ran away, German officers and soldiers, slow, we didn't know what it is. They departed the man from the woman, and later we find out that he was the officer, a doctor, Mengele. So when he got to our family's close, with his stick, he said to my mother, my older sister with the baby, 3-year-old baby, and my youngest sister to go in one side, and Elizabeth, Gisela, Anna, and Clara to another side. We never saw after that my mother or my sister or my niece, never again. What happened to them, we never know what will happen to us. But they took the four of us and many other girls who were fit to work. We were healthy, tall, and ready for, good for work, that's what they said. They set us in another side, they took us in a room, and just, we didn't know where we are because we were very tired and dizzy from that 4-day traveling in that train. We didn't know what happens to us. So we had to do what they told us. And we went in a room, then they shaved our hair, and everywhere where the hair was, we had to take off our dresses, everything. And they took us in a room and disinfected us and poured on us some white disinfectant powder, should I say? Because,
Powder.
My son told me if I don't find the right word, I should say something similar. So that's what I'm doing now. It wasn't a powder, it was a, what was it?
Like a dust.
Dust. Okay, so instead of dust, I said powder. I have my senior moments, and I don't remember words. Don't be surprised if it happens to me that I just stop for a second because I forget everything. I'm 91-year-old young girl, you know that. So after that, they disinfected us. They gave us a gray dress with a number of the sleeve because they did not have time to tattoo us like they did with other people. Hungary was the last country that they deported before all the people, all the countries from Europe. So they said, go in this place. It was a stall where supposed to be, here is the senior moment. Lovak, Alex, help me out.
Like a barrack.
Lovak.
Into a barrack?
Huh? Horses.
A horse stall, okay.
Horses, and we collapsed there. We were very exhausted and tired, not even thinking. And in the morning when we woke up, we couldn't recognize each other the way we looked. So I called my sisters on their names because we looked terrible. Tired, without hair, with that dress. So we stayed in there for about 1 day, not even 1 day. They took us to Auschwitz. We didn't hear about it, we didn't know about that what means, so they put us in barracks, and how would others?
Barracks.
Barracks places, which we had just room to lay down, you know, the food what they gave. They counted us 2 times a day that we could run away from there. We couldn't run away from there anyway, but they counted us in the morning and at night. 5 people in a row like this. And they still selected people by coincidence was not ready for, to work. It was too skinny or too fat. So they take them out. So finally we remained there And they came to select again people for work. And we thought we could stay there a little bit longer in another barrack, but we still thought everything could be better than stay here in Auschwitz, you know. Before they went to that, choose us for work, then a person came who was for 3 or 4 years before us from Poland in our concentration camp, and we asked, where are our parents and where are the rest of the people? And she said, you idiots, you crazy people, you didn't know what happened to your parents and you didn't know what happened to us, that I am here for 4 years? We did not know. If you want to know where are your parents, she was very nervous and she said, there, in that smoke, there are your parents, in the crematorium. And we thought, she is crazy and mean. We would not believe that. I didn't know what the word means, crematorium. You know, I was 14 years or 18 years old then. We didn't believe that. So they chose us to go to work. 500 of us were ready, fit to work, that's what they said. And we went to Stutthof in another camp. They put another 300 to us, selected again who is fat or who is skinny, and they took us to a place, and they said, this is gonna be your working place. It was a big farm, a huge farm, and they said, you're gonna build here an airport. You're gonna build the airport, and the French war prisoners will build the hangar. You know, did I say it right? When the planes
Build
go
a hangar,
in.
yep.
Yes, yep. Okay, so I said it right.
Yeah,
okay?
you said it right.
And the day we arrived there was not ready to camp. So we had to go about 2 miles and fill a straw sack with straw, put it on our shoulder and carry it to the camp and put it on our beds there. It was 3 beds up, how do you call that? Bunk beds.
Bunk beds.
Yes. So it was so hot that I never was over 100 degrees. And we had to do that, and it was no water, not ready, the camp for us, and it was no food that day also. The waters were rusted, we couldn't sleep. For the next day, they arranged more, but that day we only had to carry that straw sacks, and we all thought, here is the place we all gonna die, because it's not gonna be so hot, and we have to work. The food, we knew what it's gonna be, that we all were skeletons in a short time, you know. So next day, they took us out to the field, and we had to take out the carrots, the tomatoes, and mostly beets, many kinds of beets. So, and we were told, you can't eat from this, you can't take this, because this is gonna be your food for the whole thing you are working here. And who is taking or stealing from here is gonna be punished. Punished. As I remember, the punishment was not even a fleck on my face the whole 18 years that I was home or in the school. I was never punished because I tried to be. My parents raised us with words, nice words, not with beating us or something. Punishment, okay. So we went to work on that field. We took out that, and we were very hungry. And some people took a few carrots and hid it. and the guard was with us and wrote the number here, we had the number, and gave it to were I shouldn't say person, two devils there who did the punishment. One woman was, I think she was a sadist because you could see it on her eyes, it was like a cat eyes. She was big and fat, at least 250 pounds, and another one. So she was the punisher. That's what she did there. And it was other soldiers or guards there, but that was their job. And at the night when we arrived, and the guard gave the number, the person, Häftling we were called, prisoners. We did not have a name, just prisoners, numbers. And she had to bend off, and the devil gave 25 lashes on her back. That was the punishment all year around when we were there. That was the punishment. And they did it with pleasure. One of them was definitely sick and sadist.
So it's 25 lashes for taking a carrot.
That's what she did, the punishment. And it always happened because people were so hungry that they risked it, you know? And we had to stay and see how she gives the punishment with hands up like this to take an example. So that's what we were working in 50 groups, 50 people at one, every day, early in the morning, and another shift afternoon. Luckily, like no other camps, we had a washroom. So we can wash ourselves or wash our dresses, because, and when we washed our dresses, we had to sleep on it to dry that dress. Or we sleep two in one place that we should be, they should dry the dress. No underwear at all, only a dress like that.
Anna, tell us, after you cleared the field, your job was to build a runway, and you had to take sand and...
Sand to put, yes, now I need your help,
okay,
thank you.
all right.
But when I don't need the help, don't say.
All right. So tell us about the work
thank
you were
you.
doing.
I say thank you, yes. Our work was, I forgot that, you know. Our work was to fill the cars with sand. The train went away, and another train came, but the wagon has to be full by that time. And my sister Clara was very young and not so strong like the other one.
A little bit, just so you don't get your microphone.
All right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sometimes I listen to you. Okay. And so we had to work for Clara also, because if the guard would see that it's not full, would take the number and give it to let me say just devil, because that's what she was. So we went to work, 50 by the group, and it was a guard, once a Romanian guard, the four sisters, we could talk to him. He was forced to go in the army. And he was not a bad man, never wrote the numbers up, even if it happened. And we used to talk to him, and he liked me to sing for him in Romania. By that time, I had a pretty good voice. I inherited that from my mother. And she let me to sing Romanian ballads and popular things, but we were not friends, or he didn't give me an extra piece of bread for that. But I sang for him, okay. So we work like this. How many minutes I have rest?
You give another 10 minutes.
Only 10, okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna rush.
10, 20, we're okay, we'll make it work. Okay.
So it came Christmas. We worked like this till Christmas, and Christmas they said we should make a show for them, because in 800 young girls, females, there were many talented people. So they were singers and dancers and etc., etc. So it started the show. I was sitting on the top of that bunk bed, bunk or anything. So, and the Romanian soldier came to me and he said, "What is it? Why didn't you go to sing?" I said, "There are so many good talents there. I don't need that. I'm such a good singer that I go there." He said, "Oh, yes, you have to come to sing in Romanian." And while I got off from the top of the bunk bed, I broke my leg. I fall and I broke my leg. Now we thought this is the end of me, because even with smaller sickness, they sent them back to Stutthof and brought another one instead, that the 800 should always complete to work. So what can we do? My sister went and begged this Romanian soldier. He felt a little bit guilty also, because he wanted me to go to sing. Guilty, I don't know how he felt. So he was the boyfriend of that Punisher devil, let me just call it that way, you know. And he went to her and asked her to not send me back to Stutthof or other place, or crematorium, because I wasn't able to work. And he came back, and they put my leg in cast, what was a miracle. Never happened things like that. I don't think in all the camps that they put in cast somebody. They send it right to the crematorium. So they put my leg in cast. Of course, not injection, not sleep or something. Next day they had to take it off because all my leg was this swollen. This is that I am limping all my life, because after they took off the cast, now I have to, it's not champagne at all.
It's not champagne.
It's your fault. It's just a warm water.
Just warm.
So I was lucky. They put my leg in a cast, and short, that was Christmas time. So I have to make it very short, not details in between. So after December 1945, started to look the war that the Germans lose the war. Then the Germans did that. They emptied the camps, and they put the people to work. Death march. Did you hear about that? The death march, you know. So people came and stayed a day in our camp. Many of them died from it because they marched for a long time. They made a big hole, and they just threw there the people, or woman or man or naked or with shoes or without shoes. It was terrible, that hole there, and was not covered because they always had people to throw there.
Anna,
So one day, okay, now you talk.
Anna, when they decided to start evacuating on the death marches, your three sisters left.
Now I'm
leaving
there.
you behind. You're there.
Now I'm there, yes. I'm not so forgetful.
No,
you know?
no, you're not.
So
Not at all.
it came the time that our camp had to march. So I couldn't march because I couldn't hardly walk. They took off the cast after 3 weeks. I was supposed to be there at least for 6 weeks, a cast. And it came the time that our camp has to march. So my 3 sisters had to march, and I couldn't. I remained in the camp there. They took off my shoes, because I don't need shoes because I don't march. And 26 with me, taken out from the 800, and we didn't know what's going to happen with us. Some guards remained there. We were sure that they are not going to send us home, but we knew that they will finish with us, because they don't need sick people. They couldn't march. I was sitting in the end of that bed without shoes, and I thought I should die right away, because why? I have no parents, I have my sisters left. Here I am, and I was thinking I'm going to be in that hole, when the other people is. And then I started to shake, I am not a person who is afraid somehow, but then I was so afraid, and I thought they're going to shut us, or they're going to send us the 27 people. But I was sure that this is the end. So sitting there, I believe in destiny, It was meant to be that, because I was sure that I'm going to die then. They will finish with me like the other people. Sitting there, a person who used to work in the kitchen, we knew each other, she came to me and she asked me, "Can you sew?" And I said, "Why do you ask me if I can sew?" Then she said, "Because we are making civilian outfits for the Germans. By the time some Russian or some will occupy, will end the war. And if you can sew, you can help us, and you can be with us." So that saved my life, because I went to sew with them. And one night after that, people still died and put them in that hole. One night the Germans disappeared, the guards, and also they took the people from the kitchen with them, in case if they need, to. So one day they left. Next day we heard that the Germans blew the whole airport. Already was ready, the airport. And a Barrack we did too, because it was on the end of the bombs what they laid down there. And who was in the Barrack? They died there, but we ran away, a few of us, and hid into the basement where was the food usually for us. And for 2 days it was quiet, and then we came out, and we saw that when I came out, I saw 2 doubts, far away doubts. The 2 doubts came closer and closer. I was dizzy. On that basement, I got the typhus. So I was dizzy, but the 2 doubts were 2 Russian soldiers, and came more and more. And I think, I don't know what happened after that, but I found myself in a house what they thought this is a hospital. They took off one, probably dead, that I should have room in that hospital. I don't know for how long I was there, because I was not conscious. But when I woke up, I had no hair again. They took my hair off again. It was already grown up in a year, and sick. terrible sick. And when I was
Anna,
not...
you had told me that not only had you typhus, you were covered in lice, which is why they cut all your hair. You were covered in lice when they found you, which is why your hair was cut off again, right? You had typhus, you were covered in lice. You were very sick. Very
sick after that. And they threw me out because they needed the bed for somebody else, you know. So when I came out, they took my clothing also because it was full with lice.
Lice. Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a skirt, like a sack, and a blouse like the footballists have, you know, with a stripe here, and nothing in my head. So I came out from that. They said, now you are free. This is what I look free. I came out and I looked in the door's window there, saw myself, and I thought, I didn't know to cry or to laugh the way I looked. Terrible, you can imagine, sick with that outfit. And I went out and I didn't know what to do, where to go. The Germans did not take care of us. The Russians did not care of us. There were a few, not just me, wandering around there. We didn't end nowhere. Now I thought, no sisters, no parents, I am free. I think it was just imagine and put yourself in my shoes for 1 second, my feeling then. I wanted to die. That would be my quest, you know, to die, because nothing was worse than that, to know that I have nobody by myself and I'm free. And I was sitting down and thinking on the floor there, and I heard music from far away. Polish girl and French war prisoners celebrated the peace, May the 9th. And I was sitting there and not thinking, I don't know, not normally. And once I feel a hand in my shoulder, and I was sitting just like this, and he said, Mademoiselle, and I thought this is something terrible, that something calls me the way I looked, Mademoiselle. How did he know that I'm a mademoiselle, not a man? So he was a French prisoner, and he knew who we are, we knew who they are, but we never met, you know. And he gave me chocolate and cigarettes. So I sold that, the cigarettes and the chocolate, and I lived from them for about a week. I get some bread or some soup. But if we went to a Polish place to ask for the food, they never gave us. They said, we don't have it.
And Anna, in the little time we have left,
okay,
tell us about going back to your home and being reunited with your sisters.
I take that from your time, but I have to tell you.
Yes, you have to tell us.
Yes. So I, wandering there, didn't know what happens, how do I get home or something. I met a person there. She looked at me and she said, do you have a sister, Gisela? And I said, yes, we look like very much with my sister. And she said, I was liberated with her and Clara, my other sister. And I said, how about Elizabeth? And then she said, she was shot on the day of the liberation. She couldn't take it anymore with the rest of the people who was shot on the march. From the 770 people remained alive 230. The rest was shot and left on the way there, including myself. including my sister Elizabeth. So after a while wandering there, I somehow, from train to train, went from truck to truck, they took us, I got home. My sisters were the two sisters from the 5, they were home already. I was next after that. And I think that was I told you the minutes and what I lived through. But the worst thing happened then, when I realized that we are just the 3 of us, and in an empty, robbed house, nothing in the house, and we are free. So, young, not trained for life. My father did all the things. We were in school, young, we didn't know how to start a new life. And another problem, there were no men around to get married because they were all killed in forced labor. So there were marriages like that the brother-in-law came home because he lost his wife with the children. The sister-in-law was 20. He married the sister-in-law and he was 40. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. So we had to get married because we had a big vineyard and nobody there to handle it. And we had orchards with plums and a still to make the whiskey, the brandy, no man around. Mm-hmm. Finally, my sister could get married, and he didn't like to live there. He wanted to move away from there, back to his home, because he didn't like to do that. He wasn't trained for that. So I had to get married, because they wanted to move away, and Clara also. Clara couldn't get married because she was too young. No man at that age. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get married at all because in that town was no man. So what do I do now? I had to get married because they want to move. I went once in the next city for a doctor. I couldn't hear with my ear because it was full with sand. And I met there a girl who I was in the ghetto and the concentration camp. And she said, "Are you married?" I said, "No." She said, "I am married to my first cousin, and I am pregnant." And he said, "You know what? I know a man who wants to get married, but he's 31. I was 20 then." I said, "Doesn't matter. Even if he is crippled, I don't care, but I have to get married." Okay, it's true. So I said, "Invite me to your home, I'm gonna go." And my hair started to grow a little bit, and my leg was swollen, so I went to her house. I took her dress up to cover my swollen leg. I put some makeup. I wanted to look good. And when I met my husband, he was not a cripple. He was a good-looking, tall man, and we got married in 2 months. I don't think he was in love, or we were not in love. We needed each other. But it became a very good marriage. He was a good man. I was very lucky in my marriage. So we lived in a communist Romania then. We moved together, and we wanted to leave the country to go or to Israel or to America. But they did not let us out, you know. When Israel and America started to pay for the passports, then they let us out. By that time, I was married. I had Alex and Andrew. Alex was 15, Andrew was 13. We left everything there what we had. We left Romania and arrived in America. And then it started our really good life, because the children were ambitious, we worked hard. Alex is an attorney, Andrew is a geologist. They are both retired. I have 4 grandchildren, 1 great-grandson, and I'm here, an old, sick woman. Talk to you. Now you can go.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was joking.
We're going to we have time for a couple of questions of Anna. Also, I'm going to let you know that Anna will stay on the stage after she finishes, so please don't leave yet if you can. She'll stay up to answer any other questions afterwards, but I see a young person here with a question, but I'm going to ask you to wait till you get a microphone in your hand, if you don't mind, so that everybody in here can hear your question, and it's coming down the aisle right now. And then I'm going to repeat your question just to make sure that we hear it right, okay? And here, Dora's bringing you a microphone.
No questions?
Here, no, we got one coming right here, Anna, right here.
I read a lot of books, like Jewish books, and they said like they had to live like they had no name, they had no family and stuff. Did you have to do that?
Did she have to live with no family?
Like,
I think that Anna had 2 sisters. That's all that was left after
Just 2
losing
sisters,
everybody.
the whole family, and I lost them. One I lost 11 years ago, and the other one I lost 7 years ago. I am now by myself from the whole family. We lived in New York, but we moved here because both sons have the jobs here in Washington, and my husband was sick, and we had to move here to put him in a nursing home because he got a stroke when he was 82, and he lived another 10 years not walking or talking. After that, he passed away at 92.
Thank you for asking
That
the
was
question.
the other
Let's see,
Holocaust.
we've got a couple of questions right back here. Let's take these 2, and then I think we're going to have to stop and ask you to come up on stage afterwards and ask Anna your question directly, if that's okay.
How are you able to overcome so much tragedy and still make such a positive, beautiful life with your family? How are you to overcome your scars of the war?
Anna, how could you overcome? How were you able to overcome all the tragedy you went through and still make a good life?
That's a very good question, really. I don't wish that feeling to live for my enemy, how I feel and live with the memories of my family. I'm 91 years old, and it was not one day that I forget that, and I miss my family. Not one day. I don't think that anybody can understand that, only who lived it through. And innocent people, what happened. And I supposed to have a last word.
You will. You will
right?
get to that, yes.
So I don't want to miss that.
Okay, we won't miss
My
that.
last word is...
Hold on to your last word. We'll see if
My last word is to you, that you are young people in a free country. And don't forget that we are all the same people, not prejudiced. And the worst 4-letter word, you know what is? You all know 4-letter words, right? It's hate. That's a 4-letter word. Hate makes the people unfortunate, the wars and prejudice. And educate yourself. It's very important. I'm going to suffer all my life because they took that from me. When I was 14 years old, I couldn't have. You have the possibility, and I have hope in you. Say it that you will do that, because it will make me a happy death if you promise me that. I will die soon because I'm 91, and I talk to God and I ask you to make the world better and to not be any time the same what it was in the past. That's my quest to you, and I beg you to forget the prejudice, to forget the hate, because that provokes the war, and it's I hear my English language. Nothing is worse than the war. Nothing is worse than war, because everybody loses. The people die. The mothers mourn for their own life, right? For their own children. So war is a terrible thing. Try to avoid it and feel for each other. Feel good feelings for each other. Not bad, not hate, not prejudice. That's my last word. Maybe it's a last word, you know. Altogether, it's a last word. I never know when I go down there, you know.
But I do know that Anna will stay up on the stage, and we invite you to come up afterwards and ask her questions, because obviously we didn't get to some of the questions, or just to have your picture taken. Thank you.